Hello, hello. My name is Brittany.
And I'm Kate.
And we are
The Fools.
Join us as we explore everything spiritual, astrological, and overall mystical.
Don't forget to follow your intuition, but more importantly, follow us at The Fools.
Welcome back to another episode of The Fools Podcast, everyone.
And we're happy to be in person.
We're both COVID-free.
Face to face. Hello. We're healthy.
Living our best lives.
Yes, we're healing still.
Slowly.
Brittany with her foot and me just in life.
In your lungs.
Emotionally.
Emotionally. We're happy to have you here. But we're super excited to be back in person. Today's episode, until I can think of a fun, flirty, eye-catching name, right now we're calling it Messages from the Divine.
Mm-hmm. Or in Brittany's case, Divine.
Divine. I never said spelling was my strong suit, and that's why I'm on a listening-only platform right now. I'm not a blogger, and there's a reason.
There's a reason.
That reason is spelling.
Yeah, I loved it, though.
I cheated my way all through spelling.
You know what? I was so close to getting into the spelling bee one year in fourth grade, and I got out on the word cinnamon.
I mean, to this day, I'm 30 years old, and I can't spell cinnamon.
Yeah, so now I actually have a mental block, and I have no idea how to spell cinnamon.
You know what's funny? This is not spiritual at all, but in Spanish, I really struggled with Spanish. Language is not for me. Not even English. But when I lived in DC, there's this thing called an advanced diploma, which is just another capitalistic way to like force children to feel like they need to do better to get into college. It really meant nothing, but I thought it did, and we all did. The school I went to was very like one of the best in the nation and all that shit.
Oh, wow.
So to get an advanced diploma, you had to take 3 years of a language, and I did Spanish, which was fucking stupid because I already knew so much French from ballet.
That was silly.
But my dad was like, you're never going to speak French. You know, he's right. There's way more Spanish-speaking people in the U.S. But irregardless, which is not a real world, I remember doing the test on animals. And the only animal I missed was monkey, which is El Mono. Oh. And now I can't remember any other animals. Except the one that I missed. And if that isn't a fucking lesson of life, like,
you focus on where you did wrong.
Your failures.
Yeah.
I got literally a 99%, and the only thing I can remember is the 1%.
You zoned out literally every other animal for the rest of your life.
Literally.
I think, you know what, language is a good segue into messages from the divine, because they can come in so many languages.
So true. So, messages from the divine, there's a billion messages. We were just saying, like, it's going to be kind of hard to do this episode because they are always kind of speaking to us, whether we're listening or not.
Yeah, oftentimes we're not listening and we're not in tune. We're not open. We're, like, doubting ourselves. We're in a headspace where we're, like, gaslighting ourselves constantly of, like, oh, that wasn't meant for me. I didn't need... no, that's just a coincidence.
Yes.
Like,
I was going to say that. People... a lot of times you'll hear in the spiritual community, like, there is no such thing as coincidence. So if you find yourself saying, like, oh, that's just a coincidence, maybe, like, take a second to reflect on it and see why you think that, and maybe you'll find a message within it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like a great umbrella to start is synchronicity, because that's kind of what coincidence is. Synchronicity basically just means a deep, meaningful coincidence which mysteriously occurs in your life. So what I wrote down was synchronicity is the universe telling you, yes, you're on the right track, keep going, you know. It's just kind of like they're rooting for you. The universe is like your cheerleader.
Yeah. And I feel like it oftentimes is just reflective, right? It's like you put energy into a certain area or aspect, and like it will reflect that back to you in ways you possibly didn't even see coming. Mm-hmm. But you're like, oh, cool, this job out of left field, this like person I met just because I happened to like on a whim go somewhere I wouldn't normally go on a day I was like feeling.
I always say, if you have like, and this is another thing we wrote down, a gut feeling or something pulling you, just follow that, because it probably will lead to a message like, oh, take that path you never take, or buy a coffee from a new shop. Something like that can lead to some synchronicity in your life.
Sometimes I just like drive and I'll just be like, you know what, like what if there's something I'm meant to see, like I'll just go there and see it, or like just go to a random park. I did that a lot when I lived in Colorado because I was like, I only knew one person in that whole city, and so I would just like drive places, go places, just like see what would happen.
I do
in
something.
the world.
I don't drive around, but if I have like an errand and I like it brings me to the mall or, you know, some shops, I'll always add an hour or two to my day and be like, walk around, explore, go into places you've never been before, look around. So I do love that. Another thing I wrote down, being in the right place at the right time. I feel like that also kind of coincides with that. Like, you just happen to walk into a shop that has like a job listing that you literally have been thinking about. You know, it's those little things that are amazing. Or dreaming about people and places and then like having it happen in real life.
Oh my God. I had a really weird one of like this happen to me. I was very young. I was probably in like 3rd grade. And I had this dream of a car wash. And I remember it like so vividly because I thought it was like the most futuristic car wash that could ever exist. Like all I had ever seen is like brick buildings and like just a spray thing. So it was like a normal car wash you would probably see out here where it's like rows and rows and rows, but it like looked really nice. It felt very futuristic. And I was in 3rd grade at that point. And when I moved to Arizona at 18, so like 10 years later, I fucking saw this car wash when I was driving down the road. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. Like, what the fuck? I've seen this before.
I can't believe you remember that from like being such a young child.
It was just the most futuristic car wash. Like, to my mind, to my 3rd grade brain, it like blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like,
I mean, and then seeing it at 18, you're like, there she is.
I was like, this is weird. Like the bars were blue, just like I saw. Like, and I remember thinking even at 18, like, damn, that is a pretty futuristic car wash. Even now, like, I had really never seen car washes like that.
Weird.
In Kansas. And
it's
so,
like your higher self knew, your future/higher self.
But it was
sending you that message.
Such a like a mundane thing of life.
But did
like,
you feel like
vision.
You were nervous about Arizona and then seeing that made you feel like some sort of comfort? And this is something I want to harp on. Obviously, this is like 18-year-old Kate before she probably was thinking past like what that meant. She'd be like, whoa, what a...
Well, I knew it was a feeling, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I've literally seen that before in my dream as a 3rd grader. And
now I want to like tell people, you know, when those things happen, it's like, wow, do I feel like peace now that I'm moving to Arizona? Or what can that
I think
deeper
I
message
felt,
be?
I think the deeper message was I felt like supported and felt like I was where I was supposed to be because I knew I wasn't going to stay in Arizona. And so I think I had a little bit of like, was I supposed to come here? And I definitely was. I needed to learn those lessons that place had for me. But I was definitely like at a Christian college and really questioning like, why the fuck am I in the middle of the desert at a Christian college?
It's a little reassurance. It's just a little bit.
And I was like, oh, I've literally seen this place before, so that was weird.
That's crazy. And the only synchronicity I can think of really clearly that I remember, it's not really synchronicity, but more like everything was happening like how it was supposed to, is when I was auditioning for colleges. When you decide to get a dance degree, you have to audition for college like in the beginning of your senior year. Like you have to fucking know you want to be a dancer because the auditions for dance colleges go throughout the year. So you have to schedule your dance auditions, which is fucking crazy. So I went and I picked like my top 10 schools that I would want to go to, and I kind of randomly like scheduled them throughout the year. But I knew Point Park, which is the school I went to, was like up there on my list. And like obviously Juilliard, but that's like only 10 people get in, 10 women. And there were some other ones that I really liked, like SUNY Purchase, and the North Carolina School of Performing Arts. So those were like at the top of my list, right? I go do SUNY Purchase first, which is a really well-known performing arts school. I went there, the vibes, all wrong. The school was like, and I don't even know if it really is, like, this is obviously me when I was like 17 years old, but I remember feeling like this place is dark and gross, and, you know, it's like January or so, it's like cold as fuck. And I just remember the lobbies and the studios were like dingy and had like concrete. And I went to the bathroom and a cockroach like crawled across the floor. And I was just like, oh, I just felt really uneasy there. And I made it past the first couple cuts, like, and then the last one, I think I got cut from the audition. And I was like, everything is just not lining up here. And I did a couple other auditions, like University of Utah, other schools I didn't really care about that I got into. And then I did the Point Park audition. That was the hardest audition I ever did in my life. It was like ballet, jazz, and modern back to back to back. But I was hitting triple pirouettes on point, which to this day I cannot really do. And just different things like that. My dad and I had like the best hotel in Pittsburgh. It was like right across the street. I loved the facility. I kind of felt like I knew where everything was. I had a really good connection with all my audition teachers, which I know other teachers that go to that school, if I would have like auditioned with them, it would have sucked. So it was like all the teachers who resonated with the way I moved my body. It just all clicked. It fell in line. And then I didn't even end up going to my other auditions. After I got into Point Park, I was just knew deep in my body I was supposed to go there.
Aww.
Super weird.
What a nice little love story with a place.
Yeah.
And I think that even like can segue into if you're feeling drawn towards a place or a type of terrain or something like that, you should definitely trust that instinct that you want to go and listen to. I know it's easy to say go and like it's probably the hardest thing ever to move from where you are used to being, but
I think humans get stuck.
We do. We like safety.
Mm-hmm.
We like reliability.
Patterns.
Yes, patterns. So, I mean, I don't know. You can always move back. Yeah. You know, you can always go home. You can always move back and like just check out where you want to be if you're feeling called towards anywhere. I mean, the different coffee shop in the town across the way, you know?
What's nice is if you want like some clear pictures, you can also like talk to the divine or the spiritual world or the universe or your higher self, and you can kind of meditate on it and be like, hey, send me, a sign if you think I should move to Arizona. And then suddenly you see a billboard of like some mountains and shit. I don't know what's in Arizona, but you know what I mean? Or you see this like huge sign for University of Arizona and you're like, that's weird. Why is this in the middle of my random hometown? Those things will pop up if you ask for them to, or you're paying attention to them. That also leads me to, I think one of the biggest things that people see all the time is angel numbers. I see it all over Instagram. They're like, I feel like kind of buzzwordy right now. Totally. Like on Witch Talk and everything.
And just like as far as branding goes, like a very hot topic. Like I'm seeing angel number necklaces. I'm seeing angel number hoodies. And like, I want to buy one.
I want one. And I like that a lot of the crystal shops will make their crystals like $3.33. And
or like, it's cute. Same for like services and things. I've seen like $8.88, $3.33. Like it's definitely like hot in the community right now. And I think that it's kind of like a number you're putting out there as well. Like that message, like when you're like setting your prices this or like putting it on your body, like keeping it around you. I think that's also like sending that vibration back out into the universe. So those things often reflect each other. Well, so
what's interesting is I looked up like why is it numbers? Like what is that, right? And it literally says like that numbers are connected to a certain vibrational energy. So that's how angel numbers even came about. Is again, it all comes back to everything is vibration. So I feel like you can get into it, like what each numbers mean, like 111, 222, 333, but they all kind of mean the same thing if you go into the definitions. And I just think it's really more an opportunity to stop and reflect on what you're doing at that moment, or what you were thinking or feeling in that moment, or what you're going towards in your life. Like I used to see an angel number and then immediately Google, what does 111 mean? And it's like, well, why don't you just sit and reflect on it? And that's like a huge struggle in my spiritual journey. So I think instead of being attached to like what everything means specifically, you can also just sit and reflect, because most of the time, just like, synchronicities, angel numbers are synchronicities. That's what they are. So it's more so your team, your higher self, sending you a message being like, keep going, or, you know, you're on the right track, which I love.
And in the same way, like sometimes I think they're called like palindromes, where they're like 121 and it's like the same thing backwards or whatever it is. Those are also like numbers to help you indicate what you're feeling at that time, like what's happening in your life, and start reflecting. I don't know. I think it is, people do tend to want to Google it just for that support, for that reassurance. And you know, not to say don't do that, but do practice trusting
yourself first.
That inner knowing with the relationship with yourself, because I will say oftentimes those messages from the divine, those messages from the universe are coming from within. Everything has energy, baby. Like, we're constantly receiving so much stimulus from each other. Like, Brittany's putting off a field that I'm receiving. I'm putting off an energy that she's receiving. And being in tune to yourself and like going inward is where you're going to get a lot of those messages. And just looking at the clock and thinking, oh, it's 3:33. What am I doing right now? What am I thinking out? What am I working towards? Like,
yeah, it's true. It's funny you say that, because when you were talking, I was thinking like these numbers specifically, but any repeating patterns in your life can really just draw attention, because sometimes it's not always necessarily going to be a positive of like the keep going, like you're on the right track. There's been times where I like stub my toe and I look up and it's 222 and I'm like, but then I'm like, okay, maybe that's like a slow down moment. Pay attention to what's going on. Am I running around frantically full of anxiety? And then I like pull up my clock and there's a repeating number. I don't think that means keep going. I think that means your angels are being like, hey, take a little reflection on the situation.
And I think one of my favorite and least favorite, I'll even say, parts about like reading tarot or reading oracle cards is that oftentimes if you're doing it regularly enough, if you're doing like daily polls or like even just like, you know, twice a month or something, you might be pulling the same cards. And oftentimes
they're really hammering it home.
I get the same fucking card over and over and over again. And I'm like, okay, cool. Go inward. Got it. Like, rest, retreat. Okay. Like, and I'll literally ask out loud. I'm like, how can I rest myself in a way that's going to like help me and like pull another card on this? Cause I'm like, clearly this message is not getting received by me.
Yeah. It's not
like,
syncing.
Help reveal some more cards here. Like, I'll pull the message on it because I keep getting the same fucking card. Like, let me try to deal with it. Let me try to get some input and ask for assistance here.
Tarot and meditation is like your kind of tools to flip the cards on like your spirit team and be like, what? Can you get more specific? Like, you know, that's why I kind of like tarot. It's like, I'm going to ask this thing. And then I feel like your higher self works through you to give you the interpretation of whatever that card means.
And it's so funny. If you are pulling cards fast enough, you will notice it comes in seasons. Like, you will have a season of getting that same card, like, over and over and over again.
Or colors. Like, people said that, I read that another thing that can repeat is colors. And you were talking about, like, you have a season of color. Like, you can allow these patterns to help influence you and guide you. There's a reason you're being shown it.
And like being drawn into it and bringing those colors into your life, those vibrations, those energies. Because in the same way that numbers are vibing out, colors are vibing out too. So bringing whatever you want into your space, whether that's like greenery or calmness with some blues, like, you know, figure it out. And like those things that are presenting themselves to you will be somewhat obvious. Like, I had a spread today. I pulled some like oracle cards. They were all fucking blue, all emotional. Like, we're clearly about to go into a Cancer full moon, bitch, because like water's flowing, emotions are happening in my life. But Cancer full moons usually feel pretty good. I know this energy. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going that crazy yet. I don't know. Call me in like 2 days, I guess, when it's heightened.
When it's actually, the full moon, guys, is on the 17th. It is the wolf moon. So remember, we did that whole moon episode. If you haven't listened to it, go back. Full moons are about reflection, taking some time. And, you know, I'm not going to lie. I'm probably going to go on my roof and howl how the moon.
I think that's a beautiful exercise I'm going to do in my backyard as well.
It's literally called the wolf moon. I'm taking it quite literally.
I think, great, let's do it.
I'll bring my dog with me.
And I vibe out so much with the Capricorn Cancer crossover because me and my partner are obviously Capricorn Cancer, and the full moon falls on his birthday, so we're gonna be real wild howling in our backyard. I think
love that.
having a fire, like,
get that, like, I don't know, wolf energy any way you can. It's also known as the cold moon, but that's because it's usually cold, but not here in LA because we're better than everyone else.
It was actually so fucking hot today.
It was so nice.
Moving
on. So sometimes if something just doesn't feel right, even though you can't explain why, it's usually something that we ignore. And then later on, it turns out that like something was wrong with this person, place, or thing. And I feel like a gut instinct is something that we have lost as like a human race, which keeps us alive, but our minds, which are, what makes us at the top of the food chain, also hinder us in connecting with our physical bodies.
Right.
Because your gut instinct, I wrote this down, is either instinct or intuition. It can be both, because what's interesting is your gut, actually, you have a lot of nerves in your gut.
There's a second brain in there.
There's a second brain, there's a whole nervous system, and there's a psoas that literally holds emotional trauma in it. So when you're having a gut instinct, it could literally be something is following you, or you're getting too close to that edge, or something that is a survival instinct within you that we ignore
is being triggered.
Yeah. And I think it's like important to like bring that up. Or it can be intuitive. You meet someone and they give you the heebie-jeebies. I would trust it. Don't force yourself to push through, just because you think you need to.
Oftentimes we like rationalize our way out of it and don't, or like let our friends talk us out of a feeling. We don't necessarily trust we're constantly learning, and like we're always looking back and thinking like, maybe I did have a feeling about that. Maybe I should have listened to that little message that came up in me, and all you can do is really practice.
And I think a huge thing, which I'll harp on you guys as much as I'm harping on myself, a way to connect to yourself is through meditation and really paying attention to the feelings that arise, is the thoughts that come up, and how they're all connected. It's all about mind, body, soul connection. And as much as you can strengthen that, or I guess what I mean to say is like the more you can strengthen that, the better, always and forever. Yeah, I love following a good gut instinct.
I know. I think that in the same vein, it kind of gets a negative connotation, like, oh, something's up, like feel it in your gut. And I think like same with positive things, you guys, when you're around someone who makes you feel good, like listen to that. I knew when I met Brittany, I knew I liked her and wanted to be her friend. I was like, this is someone I know I like and I want to like continue this relationship with.
Yeah.
So
that is true. I felt when I met you, like it was like I resonated. There was already a friendship there. It wasn't like I had to work for it ever.
And
that's important.
And it's not just in those like relationships with a significant other that you would feel that. It's like even with your chosen family. Maybe you have like a mentor at work that's like a mother figure. You guys, your souls are connected on some sort of level. Like I just listened to this book called Soul's Journey talking about afterlife and things like that. And it is like when you meet someone who's maybe in your pod, a familiar friend you've maybe lived a couple lives with, it feels like a little comfortable. It feels a little bit easy. There's like a good feeling there that you should allow yourself to foster and like explore, no matter like what that role kind of looks like,
It's hard because I feel like in one part of this episode, we're like, don't live in your comfort zone. So I want you to make sure you can differentiate what Kate is saying. Like there is comfort in humans and places and things that support you and lift you up and make you the best version of yourself, right? And then there's comfortability that keeps you stagnant, and
that's fear-based. That feels a little bit like...
exactly. And that's like lacking, or I'll never be good enough, or those types of things. So make sure you can differentiate, like, because I don't want you to also be like, oh, this person is comfortable, like I better leave them behind, because no, that is not. You need to be able to differentiate the types of things that you need to surround you and lift you up, and what you need to let go of to grow as a person.
And so much of that is that inner work, that inner exploring of like your traumas, what things your inclination towards, and like doing so much of that inner work that no one else is going to be able to do for you, and no one else is going to be able to know and figure out. And that's so much in like witchcraft, and all energy that you're putting out there is like, these things are things that are resonating with you. If you're seeing a specific animal all the time and that's resonating with you, it feels good for you, that feels like a symbol or whatever, it is for you. And it's not for everyone else. Like,
that's okay. Like, you don't have to Google it and rationalize it. This is me telling myself this as much as I'm telling you. Like, when you see like for me, if I see a hummingbird, I'm just like, instantly feel better. You know what I did? I put a hummingbird feeder in my backyard. Like, I made it, or my porch, whatever. But I made it a choice because I'm like, if this is a good feeling that I'm having, why would I want to attract more of that? Bring it into your life any way that you can and pay attention to it. It's magical.
Brittany's got that hummingbird appreciation feeding deck up there.
I have an altar for my hummingbirds, man.
And the other day, I don't know if you ever see random ass shapes anywhere, like in my tile, I just saw like so clearly a gecko. And that reminds me so much of, when I lived in Hawaii for 2 months, I called everything Happy Hawaiian blank. Mm-hmm. So it reminds me a lot of Happy Hawaiian energy, of like the Happy Hawaiian geckos that we saw there and literally lived in our flat. There was like 10, I called them Fat Boy 1, Fat Boy 2, Fat Boy 3.
I lived in Hawaii. They were
everywhere. I love them. They eat the bugs. I love the geckos. I would love for
them to come over to LA. Just
bring the geckos.
But speaking of bugs are another message actually from the divine, just like animals are. And I think we like to ignore them or whatever because they're pests. But it's funny, our friend Raven, who is the Midtown Mystic, I remember we were talking one day and I was like, oh, there's like an ant infestation in my brand new building that I just moved into. And she was like, answer a message from the divine. And I was like, how did they get up on the 4th floor? And she's like, they were meant to be there. They represent like hard work and persistence and, you know, whatever, determination. And I'm like, that's so interesting to like think of like ants being in my kitchen on the 4th floor
as like a
message. And then I put up some like ant traps and they're gone. But I was like, that sounds bad. But, you know.
They can't live here.
They can't live in my fucking kitchen. Like, you don't have to, like, if there's, like, a bee in your living room, you don't have to just, like, be like, all right, he's moved in, he packed his bags. Like,
welcome to the hive, motherfucker.
You can put him back outside, you know. That's not the message. But to be able to, like, think about it for a second instead of just, like, I don't know, letting it go away.
Well, there's, like, a falcon that lives across the street at the park that I go to and walk my dog out a lot. And when I see the falcon, it just feels like a good little wink from the universe.
It is.
Like, hi, what's up? Soar, spread your wings, honey.
Okay, so as we're going on this journey, I think a harder message from the divine that, you know, we never want to really deal with is setbacks. I think you're the one who was like, oh, make sure you put setbacks on there when you messaged me when I sent you my initial list. And I think that's so funny because in my life recently, I've been having a lot of health setbacks, which obviously can be perceived as like super demoralizing and shitty. But I love to like step back and look at the bigger picture of how it's helped me like slow down and appreciate the things around me and what I already have and my body and that type of stuff. So it's really hard to do, but your setbacks are usually messages from the divine.
The things that are hardest for you to do are the lessons you need to learn. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't say this lightly, like there's so much shit I need to like address and I feel like overtly not attracted to doing, and I tend to take an avoidance style. So if you feel that, I'm with you. But it's those things that you feel that inclination to avoid. For instance, like I'm not good at bookkeeping. I'm not good at like managing things that I need to for businesses I run because I'm a freelancer. I'm essentially a fucking business, and I'm too much in my creative brain, too much in my just like all over the place brain that it's hard for me to just like do the shit I gotta do.
And what's interesting is, so when it comes to setbacks too, you have to realize like, okay, is this something that is like character formation? Is this something that I can learn that'll make me a stronger individual, connect me more to my higher self? Like you can look at bookkeeping and know that's going to be a positive once you start putting it into your life, right? I also wrote that a setback could also be a message from the divine being like, hey, you're not on the aligned path. So maybe you're in like this dead-end job and every day you dread going into work. I think that might be a sign that like, hey, if you're dreading something, maybe it's not right for you. So really take a step back and look and see what the message is of this episode.
We all, potentially all of us, have known the feeling of like being in a relationship that's wrong for you. And like that just transcends like through your body. You're like, this just doesn't feel right.
And you need to take the time to pause and evaluate that. All of these setbacks, like really, like, again, I feel like there's so many times where people are like, just push through it, persevere, and they
talk yourself out of it.
Yes, and that's not trusting your gut instinct.
And because like, and I think another worry is like, how are people gonna perceive me? People are not gonna believe in me. I'm gonna seem crazy. I don't know if that's right, but like, I'm sorry if someone else seems crazy, but that's not their fucking life, dude. It's your life. And I have known people who have like taken that chance and like met beautiful people and like gone gorgeous places, and you just really never know. I have a friend who was close to marriage until she met this guy that was really who she needed to be with and had to make the hard decision to get out of an engagement. And like, that's a tough one to be in, but like the bravery and the trust in yourself and the relationship you have and that inner knowing is what is going to lead you to where you need to be and the places you need to go explore, to learn about yourself and grow.
Yeah. It's all comes down to getting to know yourself, trusting yourself, and learning about like what your feelings mean. They're a roadmap, meditating, so you can really get in touch with yourself.
And not to say that that is easy to do, you guys. Like, it takes work. It takes, like...
forever. It's not like you master it.
It's a journey.
It's forever.
Yeah, you're always doing it. You're always uncovering, because you're changing, too. Like, you become a new version of yourself constantly. And that's another sign. Like, if you're not changing, like... maybe you need to be.
Yeah. It's weird if you're not.
So maybe let's try to figure out why you're feeling stagnant, where that energy can be moving and shaking in your life. So
definitely. Well, I love that. I think we've pretty much covered it all that I can think of.
There are so many messages constantly out there, you guys. And like I said, it's a lot to do with what you're putting out there.
It's what you're putting out there. And if you feel like it's a message, it is. It doesn't have to be something on this list or a top 10 list you saw on like Pinterest or something.
It doesn't have to be a big revelation. It can be a hummingbird coming up to your window. And like oftentimes I think when we view the world in that way of like, I am constantly being supported by the universe and it's full of signs that prove that to me. It's like, what a beautiful way to live, held in the arms of the energy of life, universe. Baby. Yeah.
I love that. Well, if you guys have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to us. Let's pull a card.
Yeah, we'll pull an affirmation. I haven't been good at mine. I'm going to be honest with you guys and myself.
I know. I just started reading this book called The Game of Life and How to Play It. It's okay. It's not resonating with me as much as other ones, but it talks about all the things, meditating, affirmations. I feel like I'm fully back into journaling. Like, now that I got a nice planner.
Go on.
I'm excited, but the affirmations are gone.
I think it's just hard, you guys. You gotta say it to yourself. I've only meditated like 2 times this whole year. Literally. So have forgiveness for yourself too. Like, if you are like us, you only meditated twice this year, like, it's never too late to get back on the train. We're with you. We're getting back on the train. I mean, I had coronavirus, so like...
I had ample time to meditate. I've had 2 illnesses and a foot surgery, and I'm still like, TikTok for 5 hours? Like,
oh, God. We gotta cut it off. Okay. Our affirmation for today is, directing my focus onto what's thriving creates more of what I want. Ooh.
That is amazing. We're talking about focusing your direction.
And focusing on those good feelings. What feels good in your life? Like, go towards it.
And I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I recently saw a TikTok that basically said that, like, when therapists say, like, feel your feelings, don't get analytical about your feelings. Know what happiness feels like in the body and connect with that instead of trying to break it down and analyze it. It's really hard as well.
And not judging yourself for it. I'm so mean to myself about having feelings. Like, fuck, dude. I just have them. When am I going to accept that?
Never. Oh, speaking of accepting yourself and stuff, we pulled the Seven of Pentacles upright, which is results, patience, review. When upright suggests the user understands the importance of investing in the present to reap the benefits of a sustainable future. You are putting the time and the effort to lay down a strong foundation, and despite the toil, oh my God, can I speak English? Despite the toil and strain it involves, you know that you are giving yourself the best possible chance and making something great in the long run. Always look at the bigger picture at hand. Find the parts you can bolster and do with confidence. Always look at the bigger picture, guys.
And yeah, focus on what you're good at. And then even when it's hard and you have to do that shit you don't really like, think about that big picture. Think about what you're doing it for, because that will make it a little bit easier to get done.
And I think the Seven of Pentacles to me is like, have faith that like whatever you're putting out there is cooking up.
What you put in energy to, it comes back to you, baby. So remember that. And
to know that your divine messages that we talked about today, like your angel numbers and stuff, are just your universe letting you know, you go, baby.
That vein, we love you guys. Thanks for being here. Shout out to Deutschland.
And Germany, our German listeners.
That's what's up.
Deutschland. I love that for us. Okay, guys, love you.
Bye.